Here, in a Hewitt storage unit located on the Lower West Side, lays a battered old guitar case that has crossed oceans and traveled the world. Dave Van Ronk was an incredibly gifted musician who went on to influence the likes of Peter, Paul and Mary, Joni Mitchell, and Bob Dylan. He would become the inspiration for the Coen Brothers film Inside Llewyn Davis, and by many, he is known as the Mayor of McDougal Street.
Come along and follow me. We'll go down to Galilee. Green, green, rocky road. Promenade in green.
I'm David Massengill.
My name is Barry Kornfeld.
My name is Karen Kramer.
I'm Andrea. I was Dave's wife. I was with him for the last 20 years of his life.
Crime when you lose your money, learn to lose.
I went there and I went to his dressing room, and there was Dave Van Ronk and a couple other people, maybe Tom Paxton. And Bromberg said, play that song. And so I played Fairfax County for Dave and Tom, and Dave says, kid, I think we're going to get along.
I originally met Dave at one of his gigs. There's a club in the neighborhood here. It still exists on Bleecker Street. It was originally the bitter end, and then for a while it was the other end, and then it switched back to the bitter end. So this was during the period when it was the other end. And you know, when you're at folk clubs and during the breaks and things, performers are usually just hanging out at the bar or, you know, somewhere in the room. So it's really easy to approach them and have a chat with.
As far as the emerging folk scene, I know Dave called it in his book. He called it the Great Folk Music Scare. It was this blip on the radar of American music.
FM radio was really very edgy in those days. It was really what you didn't hear on the pop stations. And I just remember, you know, one day hearing one of his songs and thinking, wow, who is that? I have to hear more.
Nobody else could even touch him. He would work in these great guitar arrangements. And then other people's songs. He did a great song by Tom Paxton. He did great if Dave covered your song, it was the best.
Stackley out with his 45 says you done shot your last crime when you lose your money, learn to lose.
Dave was basically a mentor to that generation who played at the Speakeasy every night.
Over the years, Dave and I were very, very close friends and colleagues. We worked together in a number of bands. I produced records with him, and he used to run folk shows at a number of village coffee houses.
Nobody had money. There was always somebody sleeping on the couch. It was just pretty active.
I first saw Dave play in a cafe, I think it was the Gaslight, many years ago. And like a lot of people, I was just blown away by him. Nobody had a voice like Dave Van Ronk. They called him Mr. Growly because of that wonderful, deep, throaty voice that he had.
Happy to be happy with it. And they froze. They froze and they turned their heads. They'd never heard anybody do anything like that before.
You stab me with your pitchfork and I'll shoot you with my gun. Cry when you lose your money, learn to lose.
I had three big jobs. I was his driver, his opening act, and his drinking companion. And that was a lot of work.
So Dave had a gig in Venice in a deconsecrated church, and he was singing God Bless the Child, and I don't know where it came from, but he stripped down the whole accompaniment, and it was very stark, and it was really, it was extremely moving. It was very dramatic, and I mean, he just sort of stripped it to its essence, and it just took the song to a whole different plane. So anyway, so he's singing this song, the room is dead quiet, and I looked up, and the cop standing closest to me, who very likely didn't understand a word of English, has tears running down his face. I mean, it was so moving.
He certainly had a great deal of impact on most of us who were around the village scene. Tom Paxton, Noel Stuckey, who was Paul of Peter, Paul and Mary, and Dylan, of course.
Full forward, all cylinders working. Dave was the Grand Dragon. If you were on McDougal Street in the evening and out to see somebody play, he'd be the first and last vital choice of the night. He towered over the street like a mountain, but would never break into the big time. It just wasn't where he pictured himself. He was big, sky high, and I looked up to him. He came from the land of giants. I can never get through that without breaking up. And that's as good as Bob Dylan ever wrote. Whoa, boy, I tell you.